ちらをご覧ください。
What a super fantastic character, and obviously also what a super fantastic new stage. And what better way than having you guys showcase it right now?
Yes, so Mr. Yabuki introduced Lola Pop, who is the next character coming with a free update to ARMS in the near future. And Lola Pop is a street performing clown, but she's also a character making a name for herself in the world of ARMS. Like any other character in ARMS, she has extendable arms, which she can use to punch the opponents. But also she has a very unique ability, namely she can inflate herself. And this is a very good way to create a big defensive shield. But there are also some mobility options that come with it, which Tristan and I will be able to show in the gameplay.
So let's dive into the game, because as we can see right now, we already have our first matchup. It's Ribbon Girl, which we already know, and of course our new character Lola Pop. And I gotta say, I just love her character design. It's so beautiful, especially like these candy arms, and I know that you like that as well, right, Tristan?
Absolutely. Yeah, the texture effect is very beautiful, I believe. The little glistening effect on her arms.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
I'm very fond of.
Yeah, so for this first match, basically all the matches I will be playing with motion controls. Tristan will be playing with a pro controller.
Whoa.
And Tristan is a traditional fighting game player, so he's used to using the buttons for fighting games, whereas I am a very inexperienced fighting game player. I always forget all the combos. So for me, playing with motion controls really has opened up a new genre. Let's dive into the gameplay.
Yeah, I would love that.
I'm playing Lola Pop, and Tristan will be playing with Ribbon Girl. And we're playing on the new stage that will also come with the updates.
Yeah, and you're also going to talk about this a little bit later on, because it's quite the interesting stage, especially with Lola Pop, if I might say so.
Yes, exactly, because the stage is in a zigzag shape, which means that you can really make use of the defensive capabilities of Lola Pop to inflate herself. And it's going to be difficult for an opponent to grab you through the environment because it's a zigzag. But before we jump into the battle, let's take a quick look at the 3 arms that Lola Pop will bring with her to the game. So first of all, we have the Fun Chuck. And the Fun Chuck is an arm that spins towards the opponent. And depending on your movement pattern, it will spin in a different pattern. Then next up, we have the Biffler, which is a 3-pronged vertical shot, and it has a blind effect. So if you charge your punch and you hit your opponent, it will blind the opponent shortly, which doesn't only look cool, it's also very, very useful.
I love it.
And lastly, we have the Clapback, which is a shield. And this is a very special shield because if you time your punch well, you can actually reflect an incoming punch towards your opponent. And if you charge the Clapback, which has a neutral property, if you charge it, you actually reflect the punch back with the charged effect of that particular punch. So you can really use it in very strategic ways. But let me first start off with the Fun Chuck and the Biffler. We have had enough talking.
Right, let's get into action.
If I throw the Fun Chuck in a straight from the ground, it goes in a vertical way. Whereas if I jump, it goes horizontally, and it actually will also act a little bit as a shield. For the Biffler, if I throw it and I try to hit the opponents, you can see that it has a blind effect. So that's actually really cool, and it opens up some possibilities to do a grab, for instance. So one of the unique things of Lola Pop, let's get rid of that one. Oh, sorry, Tristan. Not meant to be.
No, I'm done.
So Lola Pop can inflate herself. Not only is this very good for defense, but she can actually move towards the opponent while being in guard or move away from her.
Yeah.
Which, especially in a narrow stage like this, can really corner an opponent quite quickly. Also, from guard, she can jump high and get hit in the air. She can jump high and do multiple dashes if you time it well. And when you jump and dash, you can inflate yourself. Oh. And you can actually block the first incoming punch, which is very similar to a kick like what Min Min has.
Yeah, I always feel like this inflation is more or less, obviously it's not, but I feel like it's a bit of a taunt. Like you jump around your enemy and then you inflate yourself.
Well, what's interesting is that it really messes up the movement patterns that we're used to, because suddenly you can keep moving around and go in all these different directions while not being hit. Because when you inflate yourself, like what you saw here at the end, you block the first incoming punch. I think this was a good sort of introduction of these two weapons. Now let's go to the clapback. So when I use the clapback, I'm committing to a shield. So I really have to be careful to walk around and make sure that I'm not being overtaken like this by the guards. But Tristan is aiming very nicely at my shield. Oh. And you can see that I can punch
there you go.
It back to him. And there you could see I charged my clapback, which meant that I could actually have the charge effects of Ribbon Girl's weapon and stun her briefly. Okay, I think we've had enough talking. Let's go for the action.
So while these two are going to fight a little bit, and we're going to see how the Biffler looks like and the clapback actually, I can tell you that if you look carefully at Lola Pop's trousers, you can see the small air valve if you want to. So it's really well done, beautiful design of her character at all. So I love her. Nice grab here.
Yeah, I committed too early to the shield. So now this is a typical Tristan strategy of cornering me, but because I know him, I know that I can use my inflating capacities to block his first incoming punch. Oh, that's a good one. Oh, you were lucky there.
I bet Tristan is happy that he doesn't have to talk as much because it's quite intense. But there you go.
No.
There's the comeback, but he misses. Oh, so close. Oh, well done.
But I need one more attack.
Yeah, you need to keep her down.
Thank you for letting me have a third round, Chris.
Yeah, of course. So what you could actually already see there was that Tristan made really good use of the zigzag shape of the stage to corner me in this lower area, and then it's really difficult to get out without conceding at least one or a few punches.
Then, especially if you use the Biffler like you did before, you want your enemy to stay blind, more or less.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I actually now have a bit of a problem because Tristan made a very clever choice of arms, because he chose two Slap-a-Manders, but I was able to stop his super. That was good. Because the Slap-a-Manders often go around my clapback shield, so it's really difficult to bounce them back like what I did there. So basically, I'm playing one-handed now.
Well done.
So I have to probably be a lot more aggressive than what I would usually do with Lola Pop.
Nice grab.
And of course, immediately Tristan makes use of it by grabbing instead of punching.
Ooh. So back and forth.
Yeah, now I've got him. So
Very good.
that's actually one of
Very
my
good
favorite
touch.
tricks with Lola Pop. That's because you have this inflating guard, you sort of can trick someone to come towards you.
Yeah.
But when you jump after you're inflated, you jump higher. So it becomes really easy to jump over an incoming punch. And that way, what you could see was Tristan tried to come in, I jumped and I got over his punch, countered him and finished this round.
Yeah.
So now I think it's time to switch the roles. So now Tristan will be playing with Lola Pop and showing some other tricks. And I will be playing with Max Brass, which is a very heavy and a bit slow character.
And we are also changing the stage because as we were able to see before, and as you already pointed out, that the map that we saw before is really narrow and there's this zigzag thing to it, so it's hard to move around, and once you get cornered, it's hard to get away from your opponent, but this time we're in the stadium again.
Exactly, and in the stadium it's going to be much more difficult for Lola Pop to really stay in the corner and hide behind her own shield. So this is why I actually chose the Kablammer, so that I can whip it over the clapback shield. But I still have to be careful because the clapback can still reflect my Kablammer, and that hurts with Max Brass. So what you can see now is that Tristan is really playing a ranged game. And for me, the best way to deal with this is to try and get at him from the top. So I'm gonna probably reveal my strategy now by grabbing him. Because if I grab him, I don't run the risk of being hit by a counter. Oh, that was really lucky for me. Because the stun explosion actually stopped his super. So this gives me a big advantage actually in this fight. And what you could also maybe have noticed there was that I used this little whip around of energy around to stop his incoming punch.
Well done.
Yeah, so I think what you can see here is that Lola Pop definitely has a lot of mobility options, but if you get too stagnant, if you don't move enough, you're going to be very vulnerable to heavy punches.
Yeah, exactly, because especially in this matchup against Max Brass, you might think that Lola Pop has the upper hand because of her mobility, but it's kind of vice versa, right?
Oh, yeah, well, maybe not. So, I'm trying to get enough charged punches in, but oh, wow, oh, wow, oh, this is painful. That was a really good one, and you can see that the effect with the Biffler is amazing.
Yeah.
It looks like Tristan suddenly changed his tempo.
Ooh, that hurt.
Yeah, well, I need it. But now, what's interesting part is that Max Brass goes into his final attack pattern and he just keeps going for it. Oh no! That was stopped very shortly. Well, I think we can get a round 3 again.
Yeah.
All right.
Stick to the Biffler.
You're gonna stick to the Biffler. Well, then I'm gonna go for double roaster. It's gonna be speed against speed here. So, one thing that I find really interesting about Lola Pop is that because she can inflate herself, she basically has the defense of a heavy character with the mobility of a lighter character. So you can really see now that Tristan is using the mobility very well in this ring stage. Oh.
Yeah, and you also told me that you get so used to Lola Pop's mobility that once you switch the character, it's always a bit of a rethinking of your playstyle because you don't have that kind of mobility anymore.
Yeah, I'm often waiting for the bounce now.
Yeah.
Because I've been playing Lola Pop so much. So now you can see that I'm using sort of predictive punching because I know that Tristan likes this sideways dash. Oh man, this is going to be very close.
Well done.
Good one. So, what do you say? One last match?
Yeah.
One last match.
So I'm gonna allow Tristan to play with his favorite character.
Which is?
Min Min.
Min Min. Nice.
And just for the record, I've never beaten Tristan while he was playing with Min Min.
Maybe it's the time.
Let's see.
We'll see.
Let's go to the new stage again.
So let's talk a bit about the stage in general before we start into the matchup between Min Min and Lola Pop. So it's the new stage, obviously, that comes with Lola Pop. So it's her more or less home turf, if you want to.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, here is where she has been making a name for herself. You can see that there's a lot of candy influences. But what I particularly like is that at the side of the stage, there are some areas where you can squeeze a punch through, but it's going to be difficult to punch a grab through it.
Yeah.
So it's actually like a good defensive trick to be less vulnerable to direct hits, but you still have to be a bit careful because still something can go through.
Yeah.
All right.
So let's jump into the third match, or third round.
So I'm gonna use a very aggressive strategy because I have a feeling that's the only way I'm gonna beat Tristan.
Yeah, you're going for the Tristan playstyle, like cornering him.
And now you could see actually, again, I blinded him. And then there's a little blue.
Unlucky.
Oh no, oh, that was a good one. But what you can see here is that I chose to use the Biffler as my sort of counter arm because the Biffler is a little bit quicker than the Ram Ram. And as a result... Oh.
I'm really sorry about that.
No worries, it was a good timing. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right.
Make it even.
Yes. We're back. So, basically you can see that I'm constantly, when he's throwing a punch, trying to counter him because it's just simply too dangerous to let him go from afar because he will curve everything around my guard. Oh no!
Come on, Chris. I know you got it. Oh.
So I'm being
waiting it out.
He has his super ready, so I have to be careful.
Oh! No! So close.
They come out too fast.
Oh, well done, Tristan.
I knew you were going to activate your
Yeah.
super. That's why I already punched, but I was too late.
Yeah.
All right, one last. Oh no! I should have gone for a clapback.
What do you mean one last? That doesn't sound optimistic at all, Chris.
I know myself. So now you can see that Tristan actually, as a counter strategy to my strategy, chose a really heavy arm because that way he can always block the incoming Bifflers that I've been throwing at him. No, this might still break my shield. Yeah, that's...
Nice.
Again, you could see there that I knew he was going to go for a grab. He knew that I was going to jump. It was just a matter of speed and reading each other properly.
These milliseconds.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so tense. Well done. Try to keep him in that corner.
Oh no, that was a good one. I was too aggressive.
That grab. Come on, Chris.
No,
For the
no,
comeback.
it's over.
Nah.
It's over. Well done.
Oh, well done, guys. Well,
Well done.
Thank
well
you very
done.
much, Chris.
So, I think we've been able to show the potential of
Yeah.
Lola Pop. What I really find interesting is that because she can inflate herself, she really has the defense of a heavy character, but at the same time, because she can use that inflation to really bounce away, she also has the mobility of a lighter character. And it's sort of like switching stance in boxing or in kickboxing, that it can really mess up your opponent's game. So look forward to experimenting and finding out all the tricks that Lola Pop has to offer in the upcoming free update for ARMS.
Exactly.
Soon.
And whoever is here at our Nintendo booth actually on Gamescom is kind of lucky because you guys are already able to play her.
Yes, exactly. We have Lola Pop already as a playable character here at Gamescom. So if you're here on the show floor, please check it out at the ARM stations and enjoy bouncing around with Lola Pop.
Yeah, it will be so interesting seeing all these players here at Gamescom trying out different techniques and see how they are going to adapt to Lola Pop when playing her or playing against her. So thank you guys here at Gamescom obviously for listening, and thank you very much to you guys at home for tuning in. I hope that was interesting for you guys. I had quite the fun, so thank you very much, Chris and Tristan. Good to have you guys with us. We are going to see each other again at 1 o'clock when we're going to talk about Splatoon 2 Salmon Run. I'm excited about that. And the next show that is coming up is at 12. It's in German, so for our German audience, we're going to play some Zelda Breath of the Wild. So I hope you guys are with us then, and thank you very much for your attention. See you guys later.
Goodbye.